Earlier this evening, I went to the Cabinet Office to speak to the Deputy Prime Minister, Nick Clegg. I began by asking him what he thought of the revelations made by David Laws in his book. He was a key advisor to Mr. Clegg at the time of the general election. We've had this rather interesting book from David Laws, which on page 185 has this. In truth, I felt that our own policy in abolishing tuition fees was simply not the right policy in the current economic environment, and I had personally pressed very hard for changing the policy long before the election, as had you.
Well, what we all actually arrived at... Well, can I just...
Did you want to abandon the party's policy on tuition fees before you went into the election?
We changed the policy before the election. Again, so many myths. Well, can I just be very clear? We changed it. We didn't go into the election promising to get rid of tuition fees overnight.
Neither did you go into the election promising to triple them.
No, I'm totally open about the fact that we haven't been able to deliver what we did promise. But can I just be clear for the... lest there's any further...
Yeah, but you were promising something you didn't even believe in.
You've asked me about what we promised before the election. Let me tell you what it was. It wasn't to get rid of tuition fees overnight. It wasn't even to scrap tuition fees in one parliament. It was to do it over many more years, in recognition of the fact that as student numbers grow in size, it becomes more and more expensive to deliver that pledge. When I went to university in the mid to late 1980s, far fewer people went to university than they do now.
Yeah, but forgive me, the issue here is the policy that you went into the election on.
Which I've just described.
Right? Yes, but nevertheless, it was even that policy was one that in July the 9th, at a meeting of the Lib Dem Federal Policy Committee, you tried to drop that.
John, I'm fascinated that you're now suddenly taking such an interest in the internal mechanics of the Liberal Democrats.
Yeah, but the point is, this is incredibly important.
What is important is the policy was the policy in the manifesto. I'm the leader of the Liberal Democrats. I fought the campaign on that manifesto, and I now first described to you what that policy was, which wasn't overnight scrapping of fees.
No,
it was over a period. But secondly, I've been very open.
The ambition was abolition, not tripling.
Yes, and what I've been very open about the fact is that we cannot deliver it for a number of very simple reasons. Foremost amongst the fact that we came third in the election. We didn't win. And you can only deliver promises in politics if you win outright.
But the point I'm making is that even that policy you thought was a bad policy.
No.
David Laws has it here in his book.
Well, David Laws can speak for himself. I am the leader of the party. Yes. I believed in the policy
as it was. But you also wanted to dump that policy.
No, I'm sorry. We revised the policy. I believe in the policy. We are a party, thankfully, unlike other parties, much to, I think, your frustration in the media, that takes these discussions, these decisions in a collective and deliberate manner. And we collectively decided to adjust our policy, which we now regrettably, and I really regret this, have found that we cannot implement it in practice. Partly because...
Do you remember your party political broadcast leading up to the election? It was a brilliant piece. There were bits of paper blowing all over in front of the House of Commons, and they were all broken promises. And you said, this is why people despair of British politics, because politicians break their promises. And what was the first piece of paper that sticks to the camera? It was one, no tuition fees. That's what it said on it. It's your party political broadcast, and you said, we will not break our promises. And the first one you broke was that.
No, look... do I wish I lived in a world in which I was the Prime Minister of the Liberal Democrats?
You were saying British politics is in a terrible mess because people break their promises. And there you've gone ahead and done it.
John, unless you've got a better answer to this conundrum, I don't know what we in politics are supposed to do when the British people say none of you deserve to govern on your own. When you combine that with the fact that we've got one of the biggest fiscal crises for generations in this country, when you combine that with the fact that more and more people are going to university, and I don't want to slash the number of people when you want to go to university, when you combine that with the fact that we have to do things in our schools and before children even go to school, and that is one of our priorities, to ensure that people can dream of going to university in the first place, I hope you will accept that in the real world, not in the perfect world, not in the world where money is no object, where we can promise, the earth, and where Liberal Democrats are solely in government, but in the real world, you have to make compromises, and I would not be able to live. My conscience would not be comfortable with the idea that just because this is politically difficult for us, we're not going to try in those imperfect circumstances to do the best possible thing we can. I believe we have.
My last question. These are quotes from South Norwich, where you have a 300-vote majority. Clegg is not the guy I thought he was. Clegg is out of touch with the party. If we were in opposition, this is exactly the kind of behaviour we'd be shouting at. These are all different people in that constituency. This is a matter of principle for us. It should be for him, Clegg. There is a real danger of the party hollowing out. Well, that's the sort of stuff they're saying. They're just casually on the street. How are you going to recover from this?
I think over time, I hope people will start looking not at the allegations, not at the misrepresentations of what we're proposing, but some of the facts. And some of the facts are quite compelling. They mean that all graduates will pay less per month than they do at the moment. It means that all part-time students will be freed for the first time of upfront fees. It means that the poorer graduates, 1 in 4, will pay less than they do at the moment. It means, by the way, something no one seems to realise yet, the majority of graduates will never have to pay off the full value of their loan at all. I hope that because of the hard work myself, Vince Cable and others have put into getting this package in the sort of position it is, people will see over time that it is the right thing to do in these difficult circumstances.
Nick Clegg, thank you very much for talking to us.